Palworld is a pretty interesting game, and right now it's captivating the Pokemon fan base, which is why it's being so successful. But at the end of the day, it pretty much is going to be one of the scenarios where the game is going to disappear in like a week and a half, pretty much. Like no one's going to be talking about it because there's really not much to do in the game, and the thing is that the game is satisfying the want of the Pokemon fan base, which is why it's being so successful. But the thing about that is like I used this example yesterday where it's like Tower Fantasy and Genshin. So Tower Fantasy came out and they were like, yeah, it's the Genshin killer, right? And what happens when you play Tower Fantasy? You play Tower Fantasy, and the more you play it, you're really enjoying it. But the more you play it, days go by, a week goes by, a week and a half goes by, whatever. The more you play it, the more you start to realize this is just like this game. This is just like Genshin. And the more you play it, you realize, oh, Genshin does these things better. This game isn't Genshin. I realize why I like Genshin so much. The more you play it, you're able to separate those two. And then you stop playing Tower Fantasy altogether because you're just like, well, might as well play Genshin. Which is the exact same thing as what's going to happen with Palworld. Palworld heavily grabs the audience of the Pokemon audience because Pokemon audience wants a game like that. So not like that, but like, to that level, from the Pokemon company, from Game Freak. So it captures them initially on that, but ultimately it will not retain them. And also because there's not a whole lot to do in Palworld right now, especially in terms of in-game, even though they did release a roadmap saying that what they would be bringing this year. But right now, there's just not enough there to really captivate and keep people playing it. What I'm saying, to that high level. But by all means, I haven't played it, but like from what I've seen of it, looks really great if you're into that. You're into the survival sandbox genre. Looks super good, and it would be a good week of gaming, a good week and a half of gaming, and then I'll probably never touch it again. But that week and a half will probably be really freaking fun for sure. This Pokemon did what it has. I mean, it wouldn't really be Pokemon then. So, like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's the things that you want there from Pokemon, but I mean, of course, like with all the guns and of course, like all that stuff. But yeah, that's why it's appealing for people who like Pokemon because of the similarities. Because it's the only reason Palworld is so successful is because they're teeter-tottering on the line of Pokemon assets. That's the only reason. If the animals in that game did not look so much like Pokemon, the game would not be selling the way it's selling. Period. Flat out. Period. The only reason why the game is being so successful as it is because they're teeter-tottering on that fine line of assets on, oh, can we get sued or can we not? That's the only reason. That's the only reason. Otherwise, it's just your typical survival sandbox game. Like that. That's just the fact of the matter. So that's just the plain fact of the matter. That's the only reason why the game is as successful as it is. It's because of it's capturing that Pokemon audience. That's the only reason. But the thing is that the game is so different from what that Pokemon audience, the overall Pokemon audience, actually, they want Pokemon to do that. They don't necessarily want a different game. That's the thing. They don't really want a different game. They want Pokemon to do that. They want Pokemon. At the end of the day, they want Pokemon. You feel me? But they want Pokemon to do stuff like that at the end of the day. So because of that, the game only has so high of a longevity peak. So, it's booming right now. But like I said, it was going to fall off very hardly. You can already see it in the stream numbers as well on Twitch. But it's going to fall off very heavily for sure. Yeah, exactly. The game is more similar to Ark and Rust. Is it, like I said, it's a survival game. It's a survival game, dude. Like I said, the only reason why the game is selling the way it's selling is because their assets are so closely resemble to Pokemon. That is the only reason. If the mobs look like anything else, the game would not be selling. Period. regardless of how good or how not good or whatever the game is. The only reason why it's selling the way it's selling is because these pals look like Pokemon. That's the only reason, period. Yeah, it still needs a lot of work. Yeah, it's early access. Yeah, they released a roadmap. They released a roadmap a couple days ago. Firstly, stating the bugs that they would be fixing, some immediate bugs that would be coming out like this week or something like that. And then, of course, they plan to add PvP. They plan to add raid dungeons as well, and some other implementations. I think a new region or something like that as well. I saw it. I keep up to date with it. I saw it. But the thing is that the game is not going to, either way, the game is not going to retain its user base to that degree. Also, a lot of people were very skeptical on that in the first place because the people who made that game do have a history of kind of making games and then just dipping out and not really doing anything with them. You know what I'm saying? So until we see what actually happens, we don't know what's actually going to happen with Palworld. Because it is early access for a reason. It might stay in early access indefinitely. Very possible. Very possible, especially with how much money they got off of it and their history. They made a lot of money off of that game, and they have a history. Not a whole lot of reason to take it out of early access. That's a good payday. Dip out, have fun. So like, so just be skeptical on what's actually going to come and what's not going to come. So. Spike content.